Hi there, my name's Jim, this is my shed and you're welcome to it. And welcome to episode 9. I know it's 9 because I checked before we came on, so getting very professional. And today we're going to look at getting the rear seat upper mounts done and some work on getting the pedals moved across and the steering wheel, steel steering wheel mounted. I was jumping around a bit from one job to the other, a bit too much, a bit too disorganised this week, or this past couple of weeks. But you know, got some bits done, so jolly good. Back to alley welding. From doing quite a bit of the steel stuff, and I realised I've got to buy myself a foot pedal. I always used to use a foot pedal for welding alley. It's fine when you're doing big heavy stuff. You can just get the part preheated and then weld away. But with thin wall stuff, you sit there for ages with the torque. You get the current right so that you heat the part up, and then 2 seconds later the weld pool's running away with you, and you're trying to control it using the welding rod. So it's far from ideal. So yeah, I really must get myself a foot pedal. But that's for a future date. So without further ado, let's crack on. So before we get on with this, I thought I'd do my customary talk through of what the plan is. Also gives you a first glimpse of my lovely white floor. A bit too white really, but yeah, it's alright, it's been covered by the carpet. It does make me think what I'm going to do under the bonnet when I come to paint there, because it's going to be a bit glaring, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Anyway, the plan for this video is to get the mounts for the steering column mounted in the middle of the car, and that will also give us the mounts for the pedals, the brake and the clutch pedal. That will incorporate the master cylinder for the clutch pedal. I'll modify this so it acts on it, but that's for later. That's for later when it's all in place. But the main part is the brake pedal. Now I'm going to keep the slave cylinder where it is, because if I try to move that across, that would go through the middle of the manifold. I'm not doing that. So the servo, the master cylinder staying where they are. I'm going to make a linkage to go from the pedal here across to there, and it'll actuate the master cylinder as standard. So probably cut this part of the pedal off, mount that over there, weld the tube to here, make a new piece of the pedal so the pedal sits this side, and as you press it, it operates the master cylinder over here, and gives provision to mount the steering column here. So it'll be a bit of alley fabrication, probably just rivet onto this panel here. Not sure exactly what the structure is going to be like yet, but we'll work on that when we come to it. But the major parts are getting the plates to mount the pedals to and the steering column to, first of all, and getting them attached here. So I think we'll crack on with that. Okay, so stripped out the master cylinder, and this is the plate that mounts the clutch cylinder. What am I talking about? The clutch and the brake pedals standard. Right, so obviously the clutch pedal is going to go, and the brake pedal is going to have the linkage coming across the car to the middle. So obviously this bit's in the way. I'm going to keep this because it lines up with the wiring loom. You know, does a perfectly good job of doing the brake lights. So I'll need to unpick the spot welds, make that bolt on, because obviously with a bar, the brake pedal is now going to be about this long, whole assembly, all welded together. So obviously this has got to come off, be bolted through there. This part of the mount I'm going to get rid of. I'll probably reinforce from this side to this, what's left of this side, just to keep a bit of strength. And I'm also going to double skin the mount on this side, because obviously whereas at the moment the force of the brake pedal is going through both sides of this bracket, when this side's gone it's all going through one side, so I need to reinforce that. So I think first job is start chopping this about and get it reinforced, and once that's all done it can go back on the car and then be ready to make the other bit. So I'll get on with that. Where I drilled out the spot welds on the brake switch holder, I had to build up the material again with the welder. It made a real mess. and welding in the reinforcement plates, then drilling out where the clutch cable went originally so I could fit a grommet and blank the hole off. When it's all done, I can give it a bit of a clean up and then just some coat of satin black paint. And while we're waiting for that paint to dry, I thought I'd just get on and do some lathe work. I need to make 10 little alley bosses out of this 3/4 bar. 4 of them for the steering column mount, little spacers I need, and 6 for the rear seat supports. So I'll, as I say, while I'm waiting for that paint to dry and put that back together, I'll just get on the lathe and make these up. Drilling the bosses out 6.8mm, ready to take an M8 thread. Bloody hell. You may notice here I've finally fitted a proper DOL starter, so I'm not using the switch on the wall anymore. Drilling out the material I don't need to take some weight out the bosses. I know it's only alley, but every little bit helps. Using the lathe to get the tap started nice and square. I will not use a tap-on powered. It's just, I've broken far too many taps in things to do that kind of nonsense, so just get them started nice and square. And of course I managed to miss the footage of when I actually finished all the bosses, so here we are going back. Paint's dry now, starting to assemble the bracket back onto the master cylinder and servo. Amazing. What you remember, I must have modified this socket 20 years ago, and I just thought, I know where I've got one I've turned down, and there it was, straight in the jaw. Amazing. So there we are, reinforced, lightened, bit of weight taken out of it, and this part made bolt on. So that's ready to, yeah, I think I'll put that back in the car. And of course I didn't bolt that back in the car. I then thought I'd start making the mounting plate which will mount the steering column in place. So just marking out, drilling the various holes, shaping, and then drilling out some large holes to take some more weight out of it. Of course I waited until after the mozzies started biting before I put any bug spray on. If anyone's got any comments on my filing technique, I don't care. I've definitely learnt from the best. And job's a good one. Finally getting on with welding in these seat mounts. So the first job is to weld in the tabs onto the chassis and there that are gonna mount the seat brackets off. So it's using a bit of studding to hold them square. Tail tied them in place, all mocked up in place and ready to weld on. So next job. Right, so top half of the pedal cut off. Now obviously originally this collar was just supported the bearings for the pedal. Obviously now with the tube attached to it and the pedal over here, it's going to be transmitting the torque from the pedal through here. So whereas this before was just pressed onto here because it was just supporting the pedal when you pushed on your foot, now it's got to transmit the torque. So I had to weld the collar to that, so when this turns it won't just slide on here. And obviously because I'm losing one of the bearings from the top of the pedal, so I'm only going to have the one on this side. I thought I'd swap to needle rollers, so I have one needle roller in this end and one on the other end of the thing, other end of the bar, where the actual pedal is. So I managed to get some needles that are 12mm ID and just bigger than that, so I'll be able to bore out this end to take that pedal. Luckily I cut this so it just swings in my lathe. So I've got this trued up, ready to go. So I just need to bore it out 17mm to take that needle roller. So that's the next job. There you go. A nice light fit in there. So obviously I won't leave it in there while I weld the tube on, but yeah, that'll do the job, I'm sure. Okay, so that's the tabs in, and given that that's the last welding on the diagonals, I put some etch primer on them. Now you can see I've mocked up the seats and bolted in place those bosses I made. There's a couple there and a couple here, and the plan is to join them all together with some bits of alley tube, and then triangulate across from here to that one, and then go the other side to there and there to that one, so it'll be cross braced with alley tube all along the back of the car. So yeah, as you can see, I've made up one tube. I'll now tack that in place and then start shaping the others. And there they are, bolted in place. Nice as it would be to leave it alley, there's some truly shocking welding on there, so I think when it comes time to finish it I'll just have to dress the welds and paint it all black. But seat's nicely supported, and I'll reinforce where the bosses bolt through. I'll reinforce that part of the fiberglass, so not just bolted through on that, because that wouldn't be too strong. But yeah, I think that's job's a good one. I think it looks quite sexy. So there we are. I hope you agree with me that it looks all right. It's not perfect. One of the tubes moved just slightly when I was tacking it, so it's I'll maybe point that out at a later date, but it's not dead in line. It's a little bit off, but oh well, I'm not making another one for that. As I mentioned earlier, the lack of a foot pedal meant that some of the welding was not great, because that thin tube, as soon as you start get a weld pull going, it just, if you haven't got control of the heat you're putting in, the weld pull just runs away. And I was trying to control it with the welding rod, and it didn't blow through or anything, but it just doesn't make a nice, you can't get that nice rhythm going. So a bit frustrating, but as I say, dress the welds down, paint it black, it'd be lovely. And it's nice and light, holds the seats nice and firm, so I'm quite happy with that. Last couple of weeks have been a lesson to me, a lesson I've probably learned many times in my life, but it won't seem to stick, that not to try and do too many things at once. I mean, I haven't edited the footage together yet, but I've hoped that I'll convey how much I was jumping from one job to the other, rather than just getting that bit done and moving on to the next one. But yeah, as I say, the seat mounts finally got done, and I've done a bit of work on the pedals and stuff, so some of the jobs are done on that. So for the next video, that'll help towards getting hopefully the brake pedal, clutch pedal, clutch master cylinder and the steering column all mounted in the middle of the car. I don't think that's too ambitious, should be alright. I've conceptualised how it's all going to mount now, so it should just be a case of cardboard templates, cut them out, weld them all together, rivet them onto the shell. Yeah, should all be fine. doing something I never thought I'd do today. I'm drinking 0% beer. It's actually quite nice. Staying on the wagon for a bit longer because I think my relationship with alcohol was the wrong side of the line, to be honest. Don't know how much to share on a video like this. It's not a NIA meeting or anything like that. But yeah, there was a time when I used to really enjoy drinking. But lately, probably been a few years really, but just not as fun as it used to be, and just makes me a bit angry, and oh, I don't know. Anyway, I'm off it now, so I feel a bit better. I've lost a tiny bit of weight. It's not shooting off like I hoped it might, but yeah, nothing to complain about, so all good. Right. Yeah, so next video will be, as I mentioned, getting those other bits mounted across. I'm desperately trying not to go on a rant about some stuff I learned on, let's just say climate related this last week, but I'm not going there. I know I keep skirting around the edge, and one day I'm just going to go full rant mode, but not yet. That's all for the future. So I think I'll call this one quits, and I'll just say cheers, good health, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.